Good morning, LEC community. I'm Ivan Ramirez with LEC. Today we are doing another Ask an Educator. Ask an Educator is our virtual series where we amplify educator stories and get to know them a little more. And hopefully, with their stories, other people are inspired to be in education. So today we are joined by Norma Mejia. Let me bring her on stage. Good morning, Norma.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, thank you. A little cold, but I'm okay.
Yes, I know the weather keeps going up and down, up and down.
Yep.
How was your week in school?
It was good. It was busy. We had a shortened week this week's because of the holiday. So it was that anticipation to getting off is always heightened.
I keep forgetting it's Easter weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, it's already Easter. So
Yeah, you didn't do anything special? Any traditions for Easter?
no, typically not. We always go to church on Sunday. This year we're going to go early to beat the crowds because it gets really crowded. So we're
How
going to go
early?
7:30
Oh,
in the morning.
okay. Well, we can go ahead and start it. Before we start with questions, can you let the listeners know who you are, where you teach, how long you've been teaching, anything you want to share?
Okay. Well, my name is Norma Mejia. Currently, I teach at Visitation Catholic School, which is a K through 8 school just south of the plaza. This is my 30th year teaching. So I've been in it for a while. I graduated from Rockhurst College before it became a university. And that's where my two kids, my oldest, she graduated last year from Rockhurst. And then my son, Diego, he's attending Rockhurst also. I'm married. I live here in Midtown in the same neighborhood where I grew up. So I don't live far from all the action. My parents are from Mexico. My husband's from Mexico. What else? I was inspired by teachers that I had to become a teacher. And that's, I think, where that passion and that love for teaching comes from.
What part of Mexico are your parents from?
My parents are from Guanajuato.
Okay.
Yeah, same as with along with my husband's also from. They're all my parents and my husband. They're all from. They just happen to all be from Guanajuato. So yeah.
I've never been. Well, you started talking about this, your inspiration, but every educator has a moment that lights a fire in them. What was yours? Was there a moment, a teacher, a mentor, or a life experience that inspired you to step into the classroom?
I knew I wanted to become a teacher once I got into college, and I just didn't know. Well, first you have your parents, more my mom, become a doctor, be an accountant, be an attorney, and so I tried the first year, and I was like, oh no, I was like, I can't do numbers. And she goes, así puedes hacer el dinero, and everything. And it's like, yeah, but it's, it's like, no, it didn't interest me. And then I remember taking Spanish, and I had a professor. Her name was Dr. Judy Richards, amazing person. And she inspired me and encouraged me at the collegiate level. And then I remember there's two teachers in particular, Mrs. Elizabeth Clements. She was my kindergarten and my first grade teacher. Very, very kind, compassionate, patient. And then I remember my 7th and 8th grade teacher, social studies. Her name was Mrs. Lynn Bontrager. Super organized, super. She was very firm. She wasn't mean or strict, but she was definitely firm and consistent. And as I began to start studying, take all the courses for education, I remember I told myself, I want to be like those teachers. I want to be a good teacher. I want to be kind. I want to be compassionate. I want to be knowledgeable. I want to be firm. And so those are some of, and I still think about them to this day, when I was like, oh, what would Mrs. Bontrager would have done in that situation? So, and just showing the compassion, being kind. It's it's really hard to be kind with seventh and eighth graders.
It's interesting how we remember those things. We don't remember who makes the best slide decks or who makes the best worksheets or who makes the writes the most.
No,
No, we remember
right,
how it made us feel at that moment.
right. I have a colleague, Ann Ryan. She's been teaching longer than I have. And she says she remembers her middle school, junior high years, and it's not what they did, but how they made you feel.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's like that is so true because I know how those teachers made me feel.
Yeah. When I arrived to the US, I remember my art teacher and the way she made me feel welcome. I didn't speak English, she didn't speak
Mhm.
Spanish, but I had a little sketchbook and we communicated through sketches.
Uh-huh.
I remember that. But I don't remember the class, how the class
No.
was, but I remember
Mhm.
that she made me feel welcome and I communicated
Yeah.
with her.
Yeah. So it's not sometimes it's not the actions, but the emotions that they leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a Latina teacher, how does your identity shape your approach to teaching?
Currently where I'm at, it's a predominantly white Anglo
Mm-hmm,
school. The socioeconomic level is up there.
mm-hmm,
So their contact with Latinos is very limited and very stereotypical.
mm-hmm,
So to see me in the classroom and I'm always singing, I'm always whistling a tune. Um, you know, they see that and they they're like, oh, there's more to that than just traveling to Cancun.
ah,
So because that's what they do.
yeah,
So they just spring break. One went to the Dominican Republic, another one went to Cancun. So it's so that's their connection sometimes. So when they see me, they have a daily connection.
yeah.
And unfortunately, I can't represent all of the Latinos, but it's a little sliver
Mm-hmm,
of what they can experience. So that's I try to carry myself always in a positive role,
mm-hmm.
and I've used the line before because they're like, well, what are we going to do about this, or what how I was like, don't worry, I'm a professional, I know what I'm doing. so and so they kind of look at me because they don't think a teacher being a professional.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So when I throw that, well, it's not only am I professional, I'm also your teacher. I'm also Latina.
yeah,
So I'm all these other, I'm the one who gives you the cough drop when you need the cough drop.
yeah.
So so it's definitely interesting, and I think I take more to heart. What's more important to me is how they respond to me,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
how they respond to me. So it's definitely I try to keep it on a positive level.
Yeah, no, and it's. I think it's important to say that Latinos come in many ways, many shapes, and you
Hmm.
recognize you bring us little sliver on what Latinidad means.
Yeah.
Um, Earlier, you were talking about different mentors, different people that influence you. Many of us needed that role model. Did you have any Latino teachers growing up?
Growing up, I did not have any. Well, I had one teacher. Well, no, she wasn't. She taught in the same school, but she era de España, and I didn't have her as a teacher. That was in
Mhm,
high school. I didn't have my first Latino educator until I was at Rockhurst, until I was
yeah,
at Rockhurst College, and
mhm,
yes, Rocio Duncan. She was from Veracruz.
yeah,
She's from Veracruz, and she was my first Latina
mhm,
educator. So
yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, this is achievable.
And that shows why it's important, why representation is important and vital. Many of us, I never saw myself represented either.
Mm-mm.
Until later on. Um, yeah, can you tell us why you think representation is important, or have you had a student? Let me change the question. Have you had a student that reminded you of yourself when you were in the classroom?
I have he's a former student. Um, but he is actually studying to become a teacher.
Mhm.
And it was interesting because our contracts just came out this Wednesday, and I told him, contracts come out, so on and so forth. He's been doing some substitute teaching, and he goes, "Wow," he goes, "I never realized how tense this time of the year is for teachers and for schools." I was
Mhm.
like, "Yeah," I go, it's very, very intense. Not only do we have to continue teaching because that's what we were hired for, I go, but our we could have a career change in a minute. Oh no, you're not teaching seventh and eighth grade anymore. You're going to teach fifth grade ELA. And you're like, what? So, or, wait a second, we just eliminated your position. We're going to go a different route next year. So we don't need you anymore. And it's just really interesting. And he's always, we're very close. We're very close. He's always texting me, calling me, and I told him, get on the job list right now, start looking. So it's really interesting to see that, and you never know. I mean, one of the reasons why sometimes I think we become educators is we want to inspire others, and I don't think this is a profession where we don't know the results until way later.
Yeah. Have you had
until that so
students? Have you had students
yeah.
come back and visit you?
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
So it's and it's like, oh, I majored in Spanish or I minored in Spanish because of you. And like, oh my gosh, that's great. But I think one of the real is it's kind of like getting that instead of for teachers to get a paycheck every 2 weeks is very helpful. It's very good. I know for me, my teacher paycheck is when a student goes on vacation and says, "Look, I got this for you because I was thinking of you on my vacation."
Yeah, yeah.
That getting emails. I just received a text message from yeah, a student. No, a parent texted me with a picture of her daughter and how they entered the National Honor Society for Spanish at the
Mhm.
high school level. Another student a couple years ago, he's now a sophomore in college, but he sent me an email because he decided his senior year that he was going to go to Spain and live and study in Spain because of what I did. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. It's like, but that's that for me, that's that full circle moment, that teacher paycheck moment where we don't see it right away, but eventually it shows up when we least expect it.
Yeah, it's the little
Yeah.
moments, little moments that count.
Hmm.
Those are some joys of the job. Let me turn it a little bit to what are some of the challenges, some of the hardest in 30 years, you've seen a lot. Some of the challenges that you have encountered.
I think one of the things is having different administrators, and each administrator wants to put in um, their own guidelines, still following whatever the rules are of the district, so on and so forth. But they bring something personal of how they want to do things, and so it's like, okay, now we have to do this. For the past 18 years at Visitation, where I'm at, uh, I didn't have to turn in my lesson plans.
Mhm.
And I write. I have my notebooks. I like to write my lessons plans out in a spiral, and so I have all my lesson plans in my spirals. And so this year, the new principal, she's been there 2 years. She was like, "No, I want you to turn in your lesson plans." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, I haven't done that in 18 years. Now you want me to turn it. So I've been struggling with that.
Uh-huh.
What each administration wants. You have the parents, at least in the community where I'm at, parents have very, very high expectations for their kids, and they expect them to get A's all the time,
Mm,
which I'm like, you have no idea the pressure you're putting on your kids.
yeah, yeah.
And so they're more demanding, so they will question your professionalism.
Mhm.
I encountered that a long time. Well, this isn't right, or so on and so forth, or you made a mistake entering the score and you need to correct this. And then there's obviously there's your coworkers. There's a different level of I've experienced, at least in this, where they don't think that you can do your job, or that basically because you're Latina, you don't belong there and
Yeah.
that you don't know anything. I encountered that just recently. And I was like, no, I, you have no idea, you have no idea. So just keep to your classroom, and I'll keep to my classroom.
Mhm.
And so you have that, teachers who don't want to do anything, who don't want to be part of a team, or who don't know how to be part of a team. And you have to like kind of like coach them, and carry, pull them along. And then obviously there's the kids. You always have someone who's like a thorn in your side. There's somebody who, like, I'm gonna go tell your mom. I was like, okay, go ahead, tell them. Really don't care. Let them know that I sent you. you know um so I think there's different levels, and then there's always the personal, whatever's going on at home, you try to leave it at home.
Mhm.
The sleep I had sleepless night the other night. I woke up at 1:30 in the morning, and didn't go to sleep, I think, until like after 4. And I'm like,
Well,
I have to go to sleep because I have to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed come 7:50 for these kids. I can't let them know that I was like, that my head's pounding, and that I have to do a good job.
yeah.
So I think there's always different levels of issues and conflict that come with the profession, and I think that you could find that in any profession whatsoever. So
What has kept you going? And this is, I ask this question because there might be a new teacher or students wanting to become educators. And at times, like this, what you told me, people have made you feel like you don't belong in the profession, or that's not your space. But what kept you going?
personally, for me, it's my faith,
Hmm.
because I know there's something bigger, better, and stronger that helps guide me and helps guide my decisions. So for me, first and foremost, it's my faith. It's my family that I come home, and my son picks me up from school, and how the first thing all the time, how was your day? How did it go? What happened? Um, and es una manera de desahogarse, you
Hmm.
know. And ¿qué te pasó ahí? Oh, pues, it was like, te tengo que contar algo. So I think my family also, it helps, guide me, think about decisions, so on and so forth. My coworkers, I have some very, very close coworkers that they're my go-to people. Hey, this came up. What do you think? Just Friday last week. Everybody, it was Friday, Friday bell rings, everybody's gone. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so frustrated. I was so frustrated at the end of the day. And so I went to my go-to person, Ann Ryan, and she's full of wisdom, and she just doesn't hear you, she listens. And
Hmm.
there's a difference between just listening and just hearing you. And so your coworkers, find that coworker, build that bond between a coworker or coworkers that you can honestly trust, that you always will go to for advice, that they're gonna listen to you, and they're not going to steer you wrong. They're
Yeah.
not going to say, well, do whatever you want to do,
Hmm.
because there are some people like, well, that's not my problem to worry about, you go figure it out.
Yeah.
So there's definitely find coworkers that support you, that you're close with, both on a professional and on a personal level, because you're going to need those times at work and this classroom to speak to somebody when you have that personal issue, and it's like, oh my god, it's been going on in my head, and what do I do? Or because it's always good to have a different perspective.
Yeah.
um and also find something um outside of the classroom that you could always do, whether it's reading a book, whether it's running, whether it's watching a movie, whether it's, tomándose un café,
Mhm.
something para desconectarte, because
Mhm.
we always need to disconnect and get that time of freedom from the classroom. So I think that's really, really important. I like to sew, I like to watch movies, I love, watching sports. So excited for, to watch the Royals back in season,
Oh.
yeah,
Yes.
the World Cup, decided to volunteer for the World Cup. So,
Oh,
those things that take you away from the classroom and will give you new experiences and different experiences. And I think that's what keeps me going. Obviously, my family, but just things that, like, oh yeah, okay, you spend time doing this, and look what I created. Or I like to collect Snoopy. I'm a Snoopy collector.
ooh, okay.
So in my classroom I have my Snoopies, and so the kids see that, so they're like, I brought you this, look what I found. So and that's like, oh yes, oh well, what's this one for, what's that, so just there's find things that as you go, because not everything's going to work, but find something that you have besides teaching as a passion. Find something outside of teaching that is also a passion.
No, thank you. And thank you for keeping it real. Like sometimes things don't work and they are going to be hard, but having somebody,
Mhm.
having community right
Having
now is very
mhm,
important. Having somebody
mhm.
there. Let me take it back a little. And then because I want to take advantage of all your knowledge and all as a teacher, what advice do you have for students considering to be an educator? That they might be
um
hesitant or this might not be for them.
right, because the first thing I thought when I was like, no, I want to become a teacher. I know what I want to do. But then I'm thinking the second the
I can hear you.
the second thought was, so that was the second thing I had thought of when, I was like, oh yeah, but they don't make a lot of money. But then it's like, well, do I really need a lot of money, or do I need just what I need? So, and then there's always that fear, what if I don't like it? What if, what happens if it doesn't work out? Um, I would say research as much as you can. If teaching inspires you and you want to see yourself as a teacher, role play your part as a teacher. That's what I
Yeah.
did when with my cousins and my siblings. When we were younger, we would play school. We would play school, and I was the teacher. I was the teacher, and I would play with my sister, and play school, and I was always the teacher. So, um, role play it. Talk to to that teacher who you're like, oh, this is why I like this teacher. Find out why. Not only why do you like that class? Is it
Mhm.
because is it the subject, or is it what the teacher how what the teacher does in class?
Mhm.
And interview teachers. Go and visit what kind of school do I want to teach in. And
Mhm.
for me, I was like, I always studied in a Catholic school, from grade school, from kindergarten all the way up to the university level. And for me, I knew that was the type of school that I wanted to eventually teach in. I did 10 years in the Kansas City, Missouri public schools. That's where I started my career. It was in the public schools, and I loved it.
Yeah.
That's where I learned how to teach. And but I always knew that I wanted to teach elsewhere. So picture yourself in that classroom. What would your classroom look like?
Mhm.
What is it that you want to teach?
Yeah.
So you have to basically imagine yourself in that position.
Mhm.
Who do you want to be like? If you find a teacher that you really admire, what qualities do they have as a teacher that you would like to have?
Yeah. No, and that's why having teachers like you are is important so students can imagine themselves as a if I'm a Latino student, if I see a Latina teacher, then yeah, it's easier to imagine, to your point, to
Right,
imagine yourself in that position.
right,
Mhm.
right. Definitely, because it makes it real.
Yeah,
It makes
yeah.
it real. Absolutely.
We're almost towards the end. There's a few questions left, and now we're talking about the future. Is there one thing in the educational system that we can change, tweak a little to serve better, to serve students better?
I've noticed, well, from my experience, when I was teaching in the public school system, I remember one year I had up to like 38 kids in a classroom, which is totally crazy. It
Yes.
was crazy. I remember clearly that I didn't have anywhere else to put them. I gave up my own teacher chair so that they would have somewhere to sit. I
Mm-hmm.
remember that year. And now that I teach in a different school system, in a Catholic school, my biggest class is 17.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so what I've noticed through the years is that the smaller class size makes for a really, really good teacher-student relationship. You really get to know the kids, and the kids really get to know you. And no matter what the circumstance, when you make that bond with the student, they will lie for you.
Mm-hmm.
They will do anything for you. They will do anything for you. And you can still find that, in a larger classroom size, it's probably going to take longer,
Yeah.
and it may not be that bond, that teacher student bond may not be as strong. But when you hear your students telling other students and comparing you as to other teachers, no, Mrs. Mejia, she's the best teacher because, and this is my favorite class because this. And I act like I'm not paying attention, right? But when you hear it, a lot, you're like, okay, well, I must be doing something right. I have to keep on doing what I'm doing because to have that student teacher bond is super, super important. And unfortunately, if we could make, and especially in the inner city, the urban core, if we could make those classes smaller, I think it would really make a huge difference. It would make a difference, and not only for the student, but even for the environment of the classroom, thus falling into the school and even the community. So I think that would be something that that would happen. The other thing is I heard this comment not too long ago. And I remember teaching in the public schools where there were so many rules and regulations that needed to be followed. And now that I've been teaching in the Catholic schools for a while. The comment was made with, if in the Catholic school you have more freedom, and I'm like, what? I was like, I never thought of it like that. But then after I thought about it, I was like, oh yeah, that I see that on different levels, right? That freedom of we still, you still obviously can't view your political opinion. We can't do that. But we don't have to meet so many standards. We have diocesan standards. Since I work for the Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, St. Joseph diocese, we have standards that line up with the Missouri standards. But we're not punished or anything if we don't meet those standards. We cover whatever we cover in the school year. So I think something like that, maybe condense it, but definitely I would say the class size, it's always been, I've always, students that I had, when I first, still come back and visit, so on and so forth. So.
No, I thank you. I think we're breaking up a little bit, but there's one last.
I would say definitely one thing would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I was able to hear.
Yeah.
Let me bring you back to the beginning. You talked about how you remember teachers, the memories. How would you like your students to remember you?
I want them to remember me as somebody positive, somebody who is who didn't like to get upset. I tell them I don't like to get upset because it's too much work. Como se dice, tienes dos trabajos, enojarte y contentarte. So I tell them, don't get me upset because for me, it's too much stress. I want them to remember me as somebody who not only taught them a language, but gave them an insight into what the culture is, which is so many different avenues, so many different aspects into it. Because I tell them, I'm Mexican, but in Puerto Rico they do this. In Cuba they do this. So give them that, just that little slice, that there's differences between the nationalities, and but they're all just important. And I tell them, you don't have to go to Cancun, or you don't have to travel out of the United States, or even out of Kansas City, to experience the culture.
Yeah.
You go, just I have an extra credit list of what different places, stores, businesses that are in the city that they go, that they can go to, that they can go and visit. It's like, you don't have to go somewhere else to hear the language or to experience the culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
that's
thank you.
hopefully what I want them to know, that there's another world out there.
And
Yeah.
then, yes, and then you open a window for them to see that world and opportunities. But thank
Right.
you. I know you are a mentor to some of our Futuro educators, and you have been part of the LEC community.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for that, and also for being here in the interview with us. Any last words before we close the live stream?
I would say, those of you who are teaching, don't give up. I remember wanting to give up. This is too hard. This is too much. This is, but there's better days ahead. You got to be positive. Stick with people who are positive around you. Keep the negative people away. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. Yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you, LEC community. And then we'll see you. And then you can also check out the rest of the series to get to know more educators. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.